Welcome back to my channel, you guys. It's me, Simsy News, here to do a recap of Tom Sandoval's extremely bizarre, did him no favors interview with Howie Mandel yesterday. So I'm honestly still reeling from it. I know I didn't recap last week's Vanderpump. I plan to. I'm gonna watch tonight, of course. I am honestly gobsmacked from this interview that did him no favors. I don't know where his PR team is, but he needs like some desperate coaching. But before I get into that, please go ahead, like the comment. What do I say? Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get updates when I do post. And I'm on my lunch break, so I'm gonna try to do this fast. I'm just at home, just kind of, roughing it a little bit, work from home. So excuse my parents, but let's get to it. Okay, so I didn't actually write a recap myself. I can't even put into words like some of it. I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna use an article, and also someone graciously did a recap on Reddit. So, which I'm a member of the Vanderpump sub as well. So I am going to kind of take from that. I'm not sure if it's in order, because I will say the interview was probably about an hour or so. Tom definitely contradicts himself a lot, and he kind of goes back and forth. He also doesn't answer, like, explicitly answer certain things that Howie was like directly answering him or asking him. But I think overall, like, it was wild. Like, I don't think he said anything in this podcast that we kind of haven't already heard, although we're hearing more of his side and more of his, honestly, his gaslighting. People love to call him a narcissist. I am not clinically trained, so I do not like to call people that. I've not done an extensive research of what a narcissist is. I know the word, and I feel like I can loosely say that phrase, but I don't know. The way I felt after hearing it, I felt like, what just happened? Like, what did I just listen to? Like, and I can only imagine if this is what Ariana had to deal with, and if this is what she listened to, his version of what was going on in the relationship, I can only imagine, like, she probably feels like, wow. So let's get started. Howie talks about, first of all, the reason why he was on Howie's podcast, because it seems so random to go on Howie Mandel's podcast versus, like, I don't know, Call Her Daddy, Call Me Daddy, whatever that popular podcast is, or the other Sophia with an F, like those type of people, or a Bravo podcast or something, which he went on this because Howie does not watch the show, but apparently Howie's daughter watches and is an avid fan. I guess one of the producers on Howie's show is married to one of the Tom Sandoval extras, one of his band members. So he knows, he has the connection there. So this was a safe space for Tom. Right? Well, I do think if Tom is going to do a podcast, I think that personally, I would like the podcaster to know a little something about the show and know a little bit more about the situation, because Howie did not. Howie repeatedly was like, why is this such a big deal? Like, this, why is this news? Why is this on CNN? I get it. It is really huge, and it is on CNN, and maybe it shouldn't be. But it was like he was skipping over the major fact that he cheated with a friend. Like, not some random groupie. He cheated with a friend for 7 months, banged her in their home, did all kinds of vacations with her, went and did group dates with her, dressed up like her for Halloween. All of this in front of his long-term partner of 9 years' face. This is why it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. So anyway, safe space for him, because I don't think Tom, and I'm not trying to defend him, but I don't think it'd be appropriate for him to go on anybody's show and they just completely, like, annihilate him. Like, who wants to go on a show? I mean, he already did the reunion. That happened there. But he doesn't want to go and be interviewed by someone who's going to, like, basically call him a piece of shit. Like, I think there's ways to really express that you're disappointed with someone and talk about that. But I also think Howie's was completely left, where it was just like no accountability or anything. But so that's how he knows him. He was at the producer's wedding. He sang Toto's Africa, which is like, oh my gosh, of course he sang that at the wedding. And let's see here. Oops, I lost my space. Let's go back. Okay, sorry. So he talks about, as far as Schwartz being Watch What Happened Live, Tom is not mad about that. He said there was a lot of accuracies of what Tom said. And again, he just thinks it's really crazy. He was like, I'm a reality star. Like, I'm not part of the royal family. Like, why is this huge news? And so then finally they get into him reflecting on the situation. So before the affair, he's just saying that he loved Ariana, but they were having their own lives. What I will say, I felt like the most truthful, accurate part of anything he said that he wasn't putting his own weird spin on or narcissist spin on was that they were in a relationship where he felt like they had just become best friends, where it was more of like a roommate situation. It was lacking intimacy, lacking connection. They would travel more alone than together. He mentioned that he went to that wedding for his bandmate without her, and that they put on a solid face as a couple on the show because it was their brand, but they were very private and they didn't want to put their drama like on the show. And, they ran in with a group of people who were more like frenemies, which I get that, like Lala, Katie never liked Sandoval, and a lot of that stems from back in the day with Kristen, him dating Kristen and cheating on her all the time. So he, it wasn't really a safe space for Ariana or Tom to really open up. I mean, consistently, if you follow them, Tom and Ariana have been left out of stuff like when they were all traveling with Randall and when Lala and Randall were together. They were never included in that. Obviously, we know Jackson and him fell out and Tom fell out. So I believe that. Like, I do believe that in the beginning, I do believe they obviously have had an intimate relationship probably in the beginning, but I do think that they both wanted two very different things. Like, Ariana never physically wanted to have children, although she did go through the process of freezing her eggs and things like that. Tom always was expressive at one point about wanting to be a family, wanting to get married. Ariana didn't want that, and that's fine. Not everybody wants that, but they decided to move forward, to buy a $30 million home together, to do book deals together. I think she recently took out, along with him, they took out a loan on the house because he needed her permission to do that for some stuff for the new bar. So they were in a partnership, and I do believe that maybe they weren't as intimate as maybe he would like. And it's like, the fact that this just comes down to them not having sex is like, how old are you? Like, come on. Maybe we should think about why she doesn't want to have sex with you, Tom. Like, come on. Communication issues on both sides, both of their faults. He claims they both had depression this past year. Tom's way of coping with that, though, was going out, drinking, seeing friends, working. And Ariana's way was isolating and staying in bed all day. I do not like how this whole interview, he used her mental health struggles against her, I feel like. And it's interesting because Howie is so big on that, and he was like commending him on being open about mental health. But I was like, I feel like he used it against her the whole time. So then he says, well, when I turned 40, I started to reflect on my life. And he claims that he had just like accepted their new dynamic, that he was just they just weren't gonna have sex. There was gonna be no sex, no affection. He said, they weren't even kissing and things like that. And he goes, Ken and Lisa probably don't have sex all the time. And he loved the stability and the safety, but he realized he felt like the best years were behind him, and he had lost all his optimism and basically his will to live. And they started, I guess, going to therapy at some point. And this is when he says, he started to want to kind of facilitate the breakup. And when it started with Raquel, he claims he was just in such a dark place in his life. And he says that he hopes one day he can look back and that it's a good timing. He claims that he had no more mojo, no game, that having sex with him would have been like doing with a 19-year-old for their second time because he just had no idea what he was doing. It was so weird. It just, again, it comes back to sex for him. Now, Howie asked him if he talked to Ariana at all about how he was feeling in the breakup. So he does say that they had started doing therapy together, and that anytime he would mention like breaking up with her. I'm gonna kind of scroll down because it's very, he did go back and forth a lot, but when he mentioned breaking up with her, like during their couples therapy, he said basically, he didn't want to do it because, her mental health was so unstable that if he mentioned breaking up, that she said, well, I'll quit the show, I'll move, we'll have to sell the house. And basically she will just like, it would be just equivalent to ending her life if he broke up with her. Okay. So, which is like, are you kidding me? Wow. Okay. So then his plan was to break up with her in therapy, which I've heard that if you are in a very unsafe relationship, that having those conversations in a therapist's office is actually a good idea. So apparently he's trying to break up with her for the last 7 months. This whole time he's banging her friend behind her back. And that during this time, Ariana turned into 180 and turned into this beautiful person who was not judgmental, who was sweet, and who was supporting him. And Mandel was like, well, you went to therapy, it's working. And then he says, it was clear that he wanted to break up in therapy, and Ariana started fighting for it, which made him feel terrible. And then he was like, well, whoever gets this version of Ariana is going to be one lucky person. Sick son of a bee. He also mentioned that when he tried to break up with her at a certain point that she hit him, that she punched him. It's crazy. Let's see here. He mentioned that, so I'm going to go back up. Now, now with him and Raquel, he says, basically that they started hanging out. He'd always thought she was a cool person, and he just thought like she was so fun and witty and intelligent. And he claims that he was pushing Schwartz on her as well. And they asked, well, were you doing that to kind of set like a boundary for yourself so that like if Schwartz hooks up with her, then that kind of means like you can't like the homie code? And he said no, that wasn't the case. Tom says that they hung out on guys' night, which is when we're all saying we've already discovered that we think that the first hookup maybe happened then. I still think something happened at Coachella. I don't care. But they said that they hung out and they talked until the sun came up. He said those exact same words about Ariana when he cheated with her, when he was with Kristen at the Golden Nugget, that they talked until the sun came up, and then they kissed. He was locked out of his house. Don't know why, but he was locked out of his house that night, and they made out in their backyard. He says it was just magnetic. He just felt something he hadn't felt in so long. It's called lust, dude. Anything new feels great. Come on. Then he says, that they only kissed. I don't believe that. I think he claims that they kissed and they stopped themselves, but then later he admits that they had sex in the backyard by the fire pit. Classy. Because the rumor we heard was that they had sex in Ariana's car, because he had took Ariana's car that night to go to guys' night. But no, he banged her in the backyard at the fire pit outside in the grass or whatever. Like, disgusting. Let's see. After he immediately went into therapy after hooking up with a one-night stand with Raquel because his feelings were so strong and he just wasn't acting logically anymore. And then apparently, they were seeing each other as often as they could, which he's like, I know that sounds horrible. They were FaceTiming all the time. And he's like, Ariana just, really didn't even notice because, that's just how separate our lives were. Okay. Okay. The affair continues for months. Then he starts a couples therapy with Ariana. He tried to slowly plant the seed in therapy about breaking up. It's like, just tell her, I don't want to be together with you anymore. And then, of course, eventually you got to figure out how to explain to her that you've been cheating on her. But you don't try to break up for 7 months, take out new loans with people, celebrate your anniversary together and all these things, posting on social media and blah, 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 all while you're still bringing Raquel around, hanging out with Raquel, dressing up with her, hanging out at Halloween, dressing as her on Halloween, sneaking around, banging her in your house, but you want to break up so bad and Ariana just can't handle that. But no concerns about all the other stuff, right? Howie doesn't mention any of this because he doesn't watch the show. And his daughter being a fan, I feel like she didn't express it enough. Like, yo, well, how are you guys so okay with doing this in front of this girl's face? Like the cruelty of it. I don't think any of us would have had a problem with Tom and Ariana breaking up, because honestly, I do believe that their relationship was a lot of convenience. I don't believe that they didn't sleep together as much as he's making it sound. Because what I have to understand is, you are so miserable in this relationship, having no intimacy, no kissing, no touching, no sex, no nothing, separate lives, traveling separate, don't even know where each other are. He mentioned how he went to Miami and he texted her when he got there, but she didn't check on him in the rest of the weekend, and she would go here, and they're not calling on each other. What does that say about Ariana? And I'm not blaming her, but so you mean to tell me Ariana is just 100% okay with living like that? She's not seeing anybody else? So she's just being completely faithful at home, not knowing where the hell you are, and you're just gone, and you're this and you're that, and there's no intimacy, and she's happy with that. That doesn't make sense. Ariana has been very clear about her love language being quality time, being, she doesn't feel comfortable, even with a partner of 9 years, maybe just casually banging or whatever, when they haven't made some intimate connections. And intimacy doesn't have to just mean sex. We know that. It can mean other things. So it's just bullshit. I just, he claims he broke up with her on Valentine's Day. And then that's when she went off on him and punched him and this and that. He says that he is still staying in the house. He doesn't have friends he can stay with right now. Also, he runs the whole house, meaning he handles the housekeeping, the gardener, all of the stocks, whatever. He knows where everything is, or he's the one who handles all of that stuff. I'm sure she can figure it out. She's opening a business. I'm pretty sure she can figure out how to get her own gardener, get her own house manager, get an assistant if she needs to. They don't interact because it's a big house, but they have a mutual friend that they text who mediates. I think I don't know. Personally, if they have to do that for their own sanity, not to talk, but I don't know. I think especially, I'm not saying I would be talking to him to work it out, but I think I could talk to him hey, you need to, I don't know, maybe it's for the best. It's been really tough on Tom to see the reaction from people, from friends. He's really having a hard time about that. Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. But he said when Ariana found out, he claims that they were broken up 2 weeks before, yet she's at his show that night, right? But he says that they were waiting on news of a big job from Mixology that they were working on. And so he claims that they were going to navigate how to announce the breakup together. He said that after he told her about breaking up and she punched him, that she told him that she wasn't going to let him leave him. And he was like, well, I don't know if I can be faithful. And he didn't tell her about Raquel. And then he alludes again that, she would unalive herself if he doesn't stay with her, Ariana. Okay, so she's so desperate to be with him that she's going to unalive. And then he says, he went out to Miami and all that. Then he says, basically he told her that on Valentine's Day they were broken up. They don't have to make any announcement right now, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then she still goes to his show that night, but he claims the morning that she found out about the affair, which is in March, as we know, February is a short month. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, they were at that show, and that's when the phone fell out, and she saw the text messages, the videos and all that stuff, that before he left for the show, she asked Tom about fertilizing the eggs that she froze and getting his sperm tested so they can start the process for maybe getting a surrogate to get that going. So he was like, dude, we've never had a conversation about that, since she did that. Now that goes to back up, he likes this. It's out there a lot that Ariana doesn't want to have children, but what I've read and heard her say in other interviews, on Bravo panels and things, it's not that she doesn't want children. She just did not want to actually be pregnant herself. And I think if she has the money and the resources, there might be many reasons why she does have mental health. Maybe there's medically reasons why a physical pregnancy would not be a good option for her. Then I think that's her choice, and we have those choices now in 2023, which I think is great. There's a lot that goes into surrogacy. I don't know who they're going to choose. There's people who have big problems with, especially rich people, getting surrogates, and just I don't know. I'm not even equipped to talk about it, but I'm just saying, whatever. That's their right. But his whole thing was he thought that was wild of her to say that, which would be wild if you guys were supposedly broken up 2 weeks ago. And he said, she was fully in denial because he had already broken up with her. So he's like, 100% we were broken up. She knew it. So that's his new narrative. I'm like, okay, Ross, we were on a break, whatever. And then Tom says he called a producer and he told them they were broken up, and that is why the cameras picked back up. He said he had to hold himself accountable because, there were just so many things they didn't talk about on camera. And actually he does, I'm going to bring this light closer. He did mention that we will see on camera that they do have some relationship discussion talks, because they never had those things on camera. And so many people in this group has had to have those uncomfortable conversations on camera, and he and Ariana never did that. Now, he ends it with saying, actually, he ends it with shaving his mustache. I literally turned it off at that point. I just couldn't. But he said what hurt him the most is that the friends who have left him, and that, he has showed up for them more than Ariana has. And he says, like, hearing everybody on their different podcasts question his loyalty, question the type of person he is, like calling him a narcissist, saying that he only did those things to make himself look better, blah, blah, blah. I can understand that that would be hurtful. I also understand why people, especially in their mutual friend group, I'd be done with him. Like, you humiliated her. You annihilated her trust. Like, there is absolutely no reason that you had to do what you did. He's too damn old to be cheating with somebody who's their friend. Cheating at all. Like, this is whole, I tried to break up with her. I told her 2 weeks we were broken up. I don't believe any of that. I don't. I believe that he wanted to I'm trying to think of a class. He wanted to do what he was doing, and it was working. I don't know why Ariana didn't question more, but it's not wrong that she trusted you. She probably shouldn't, given your track record. But it's almost like he put all of it back on her, that he tried to break up with her. He was never around. Why didn't she notice that he was cheating? Because you're cheating and you're sneaking, and you probably made excuses or said you were at the restaurant, and you were probably banging Raquel at the restaurant too. I don't believe for 1 minute he didn't use that place as their little sex den or something. Like, that's probably why Schwartz and Sandy's didn't open up for so long. I was too busy banging in it. You guys are opening and have customers. You don't have a free place to hook up because, clearly you like to do it under her nose because it probably gives you guys some extra little sick thrill. Like, the whole thing was just, you guys can listen to it. Like, if I knew how to link stuff, I would. It was wild. And I will say, I don't think, when you're in a long-term relationship, you don't just have one convo and break up, right? You have probably several conversations. Well, what would this look like if we did? What can we do? Okay, we start couples counseling. There's lots of things that go into it. If they were having these problems and they didn't want to discuss it on camera, which I kind of don't blame them for that, but it is true. You don't know much about their relationship. Many cast members have said that they are one way on camera and one way off. Many cast members, Lala used to say it, that they weren't affectionate at all. So clearly there were cracks in this relationship. I don't think Tom is lying about that, but I'd be interested to find out how much of what he's saying is true from Ariana's perspective. This whole lack of intimacy. Was that really the case, or was it just once every few weeks or something, which I would say is probably common in long-term relationships? I'm pretty sure they hooked up when they were in Mexico for Sheena's wedding, but he also apparently hooked up with Raquel too. I don't know. But the deceit and the lying and everything, none of that was really addressed on here. Howie made it sound like you make mistakes and these things happen and you guys weren't married. No, they were in a committed relationship, they were supposed to be, bought homes, businesses. People were making fun of him for saying that they were a brand, but no, they were a brand. You knew Tom and Ariana, and he did himself no favors this interview, especially throwing out there that she was wanting to end her life and that she was just so distraught if he left her. Guess what, Tom? When she found out that you were banging her friend, she left you. It's over. So maybe if you would have just told her what you were doing, you could have got out of this a long time ago. Or maybe if you just said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm at the point where I'm looking at friends like Raquel and I want to be with someone like that. Maybe then she would have said, okay, this is over. The whole thing was wild. I felt confused and maybe that's what narcissists do. They make you question everything. I'm just I'm literally questioning, well, how, if it was like this, how the heck was she okay with it like this? It doesn't make sense. I am interested to see the conversations that they have at the reunion because Andy had a conversation with him, a one-on-one. He had a conversation with Ariana and he had a conversation with Raquel. And I'm pretty sure Andy's going to ask, Was it true you guys weren't sleeping together? Were you guys doing so many things separate? You know, I want to know those things because I think we're going to see a vast difference between what his perception of what their relationship was, because his immature narcissist needs of not being like put on a pedestal all the time weren't being met. It sounds like none of her needs were being met if she's laying in the bed all day, if we're to believe him. So upsetting. So again, watch the interview if you can. I got to go back to lunch. I'm probably late and I work from home, and that's kind of funny. How are you late and you're from home? Okay. I got to log back in, but I appreciate if you listen to this. It was wild, you guys. Leave some comments down below. What do you think? Did this humanize Tom anymore for you? Do you feel bad for him? Do you think that this is a good reason to have started sleeping with Raquel, you know, in their home and things like that? Because, you know, he just didn't feel alive and Raquel just boosted him up. Like, what do you think? Leave a comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.